Hi everybody, Patreon members especially. Welcome to part 2 of the transcription process to Meteorites information. That's what I have so far. Sounds pretty good, right? I actually did some rechecking of my work this morning. You may be able to hear, actually, that the air conditioning isn't on, so there's a lot less noise. It's also quieter outside. The only thing we might hear regularly is a very vocal robin singing outside. So this will make it a little easier for me to hear. And so I did take some time this morning to correct a few things. Mostly on that first strummed guitar chord that I talked about, where I initially transcribed it as just that. And then I heard the second one and it sounded like there was more there. That. I thought, well, it wouldn't make sense for it to be there just once. There's no reason for it to change. So I had a listen and am pretty convinced that both are the same. Neat. Very fourthy type of chord there. This one's a little crunchy, but that's a very quartal type of chord. And so I've adjusted my notation. And I also basically did the next measure, which is just, that just happens one more time solo. So I decided to start from there. You may know, before the actual recording and performance video is made, I usually do one final run through and rechecking of my work. And so I'll do that here too. But I thought it was important to double check my work for this video. Okay, so let's see. I am from the beginning again. Pretty good. I just noticed, actually, again, because I can hear a little better today, that right at the beginning, I think there's a timpani roll. I maybe should be doing that. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I think maybe the timpani... echoes the rhythm of this. Oh, and maybe I could do something like... I'm not sure that's really happening. That would sound kind of good, though, because I can get all the notes. Let me listen to that again. See? This is what pays from not assuming you got it right the first time. Yeah. I don't have to think about that. I'm going to put a little question mark in my score to remind myself to double check that. But for our video, let's keep going. Yeah, that's going to be kind of gnarly because they obviously overlap each other right there, the flute part and the horns part. Okay, so let's at least figure out where everything is. But happily, it sounds like it's a literal repetition of the music I've already done. It sounds like it's this again, and it sounds like it's that again. So I'll just have to double check that that's true, and then figure out how to put that together. This might be one of those moments, which often happens in my transcribing process, that once I figure out what the notes actually are, I do have to go through a process of figuring out how physically I can play all the notes together on the piano, which is not always obvious. And sometimes it has meant some adapting or leaving out of notes, just so that I can play the most important stuff. Let's see what we need to do. Let's actually start right from that measure. So let's create a little loop here. I'll probably have to slow it down at some point, but... Right, so it sounds like that's basically the same rhythm again. And this is... That low is actually very subtle. That's why it took me a while to hear it. But it really makes that chord juicy, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm going to have to be able to do... And... All right, let's see how they actually line up. And so... How does that go on? I just want to hear something here. Let's go just a little further. Well, that's interesting. This time it doesn't go ba 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 ba. It goes bum ba ba in the flutes. I didn't get that wrong the first time, did I? Nope. They definitely play again. Okay. All right, so now I have to take a moment to figure out how that's going to work. Because I've been playing this with two hands, but now I have to make sure this happens too. Which means I'm going to have to... Okay. So... I could do that. Or I could go... I could do that with one hand. Or I went like this. That's hard. That's going to be hard to figure out exactly how to put that into two hands there, because they're very different parts, obviously. It can be done. They're all in enough of the same range that I can reach them with both hands. But the lower part, the ba 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 ba, is obviously very rapid, and to be able to do that accurately, that I could do. I could do all in the left hand, and I could do in the right hand, and maybe then I can go... Okay, that's a possibility there. All right, but anyway, I'll write that down as is for the moment. Ba 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 bum. Let me do this a very slow version. No. Yeah, I think I should do it like that. I won't try and... I would normally, like, shift fingers so that I don't play the same fingers twice in a row. It's usually bad technique. But I think I have to in order to be able to get the low notes here. So... Okay. And those are short. Okay, okay. I think that works. That's a tied note. Ba, ba, and that's tied. There's a note there. Okay, I think I got that measure. You see, I tried to write them, all the notes there, but also tried to write it in a way that I could actually play on the piano. This is often part of the transcription process, is that I have to not only figure out the right notes, but I've got to figure out how I'm physically going to play it, and consequently that immediately involves some editing sometimes, or trying to figure out exactly physically how it's going to work. Okay, so let's see here. So then at this spot is where it goes ba 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 ba, little blues there. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. So obviously those horns have a very similar sounding line there, but you can also hear the cello come in with a low note there, which is new. That hasn't happened, or at least has not been noticeable so far. I think maybe I will start with that. That's going to be important to figure out. Let me just... Okay, so that is supposed to be held the whole time. We'll see if I can actually do that, because there's a fair amount going on, as you can hear. And I'm actually going to have to, if the cello part is low enough, I might have to, redivide the notes in the horns again. All right, we'll see. I'll put it all here for the moment. But I know that this is held from the previous measure. But I'm assuming it's something like... It's something like that. It sounds kind of parallel-y. Sounds like the same ideas in parallel, like I said. But we would start the same. Probably. But I was going to start with the cello, so let me do that. Sounds like a moment to slow things down, eh? I'm definitely not getting it the first time. Now let me loop that whole thing. Yeah, I think it ends on B. All right, I'm going to need to figure out that. I'm going to sort of work backwards because the B is very clear. Okay, now I got to go back one note. Okay, E there. I thought it was moving. It's the same note. Huh. I thought that was moving a little bit more. I would have figured it was something like... Because the horn part is moving. So I would have thought it was moving too. Well, who knows? Sometimes mistakes happen, as we discovered in season 1. There's a cello line that starts from the beginning, and it's either hard to hear or it's not actually there. Let me see here. You know what? I'm going to move this a little later because I've got some of the previous measure there. boy. Hey. Well, this is much harder than I wanted it to be. And I think this is another one that I'm going to need to listen to the piece with headphones. That's going to make it a little easier. Well, let's hear what the horns are, because that's going to be a little bit more obvious, I hope. Let's see if it's the same thing. Should be. You can pretty much hear it's all there. Okay. So let's see. Da da dee dee da da. All right. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 da. Yeah, I'll still be holding this, won't I? I don't know if I'll end up holding the flutes. That may be a bit much. We'll see. I'll put it there for now. So at least I know that's there. Ba 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 da. Okay, F. Da 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 da. Okay. And that's staccato. Okay, so now I want to get the ba-da. Let's do that. Oh, wow. Right, you're still hearing the flutes in there. Oh, that's... Huh. I think so. Wow. Oops. Again, I'm going on the assumption that there's 3 horn parts there. That's what's been going on basically this whole time. As soon as we figured out 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm operating on the assumption that I'm not going to find more notes than that in this horn chord. But I should probably find 3, even if one is doubled at the octave or is playing the same note as another instrument. I'm at least operating on that assumption because that's usually the logic of composition. Wow. Well, good old augmented triad there. A good friend of Simpson and of Doctor Who. Huh. Do you know that wasn't what I expected at all? You just sort of assume with a line like... And we've gotten so much of these 4th chords, I just sort of assumed it would be something like... Which would be fine, but actually, come to think of it, it's sort of unimaginative to just go parallel like that. In a way, it works, it sounds good, but... I'm not sure I would have thought of that. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And yeah, somewhere I'll have to figure out the cello part. I think it's E both times. So I'm going to start to put that in now. Well, all right. Spelling of the notes doesn't matter yet. I'll figure out what it should look like Yeah, that's interesting because those are the flute notes as well. I could add them in, couldn't I? And keep them there. We'll see. It's a little messy and maybe unnecessary for the sound of the piano arrangement, but I do know that they are intended to overlap in the ensemble arrangement. So I will keep that in mind when I think about how I'm going to play it. Da-da-da. Okay. And then it goes somewhere else. I'm guessing it's going to end there, which is the opening chord, excluding the A. So it sounds like it's going back there. Again, that would make a lot of compositional sense. If you start with an idea, you don't abandon it, right? That usually makes good musical sense. It allows us to understand the music better, and we hear it and like it better because it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. Even if you don't know you know it, you might instinctually recognize it. Okay, let's see if I can figure out the horns for the last part. Looks like it's back to fourths again. Probably. So yeah, I would say that it ends with, yeah, the opening B7 sharp 9. Jazzy, cool. Although Ambassadors of Death is definitely the jazziest score Simpson did, this has some jazz in it too, and some interesting harmony. It's got a little grooviness to it. That's particularly true in a piece that I've already transcribed, connected with Miss Shaw and her introduction. And so there's a little bit of jazziness here too, which is fun to hear and realize. Okay. Okay, so there was a little bit of parallelism here. That does make sense. But I like that it wasn't that in the middle. That was smarter than me. Although, the cello note is kind of unexpected in that way, because it is definitely playing like a C sharp. Weird. So, does make me wonder if the cello was meant to play a different note, because then it would, if it was all in parallel, it would go D natural. Who knows? Until I see the scores. That's very surprising, but that's obviously what it was. Ah, wow. Groovy. Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with it until proven wrong. Doo-doo. That's what the revision process is for. I don't have to necessarily get it right the first time. I mean, obviously I try. But having gotten most of it right, it can sometimes put your ears in a place, and your brain in a place where suddenly other things fall into place. You were so busy listening to one thing that you couldn't quite hear another thing. Story of my life, story of the project, really. But given that time, I can get the right notes. Oh, right. They hit a little bit at the end. That's cool too. So the timpani takes over. I think it's B now. And then it hits, it sounds like it hits that same chord right at the end. So. I'd have to pass it to one hand. So what if I went. I think that'll work. Let me see here. Ooh, gets really good there. I'm going to just write a little shorthand there. Bum, bum, bum. It's basically the same rhythm, of course, as the previous part. But now it's... And now I better just check, because I'm not sure that last chord is, in fact, the same chord. I'd better check. It is the same. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Okay. So, all that work for another 3 measures, but that was a lot of information there. That's a lot of music and a lot of notes, and I'm still not quite sure about all of it. I have to listen again to the cello part. Is what I have right now. Again, slightly surprising notes. But there may be notes at the very beginning of the measure under this. Under the first one. I have to listen to that again to make sure that that is correct. And I'll, as usual, check my work as well. But it's coming along, slow but sure. You can see the process is... a slow and deliberate one, but by necessity. It has to be that, because I want to get this right. And you can tell by now that that is very, very important to me. And it deserves it. This music is so special, and short of being able to recreate it with actual instruments, this is a favorite way for me, is to be able to enjoy the music on piano, my instrument of choice and of love. So anyway, thank you, Patreon subscribers, for watching this. Maybe someday this will be on YouTube, but for now, you enjoy it. Pass the word. Patreon subscribers, remember, get all kinds of bonus stuff like this, particularly our upper tier composers and producers. So make sure you subscribe accordingly. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next transcription video. Bye for now.